Om Shuklam Baradaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarvavigno Pashantaye. Krishnan and Bindu, I'd like to wish you both a very, very happy celebration of 60th birthday of Krishnan and this special occasion on which you are celebrating the Shashtyabdhapoorti. You know, this is indeed a special day in our tradition, which is celebrated with family and friends, celebrated with prayers and a joyful occasion. And it's something very unique about this. The day itself is the 60th birthday, you know, and one has lived in this world a life of 60 years, And what is so special? What makes it special, you know, for us? Why not 50? Why not 75? So, what is this special about Shashtyabdhapoorti? You know? So, as you all know, in our Hindu tradition, we calculate time in terms of the sun and the moon movements. It's a calendar based on the lunar and the solar calendar and the years, the solar year and the lunar year. And in this, when you look at this, also the years that are there are counted in a cyclical way in terms of 60 years. Shashti Abda Purti. Shashti is 60, Abda is the year, and Purti means completion. So it means that a person has completed a life of 60 years, having lived on this earth into which we have come. And it is based on the movements of the planets. It is based on the zodiac. So there's something special about this day on which, when we are born, all the planets have certain positions on the zodiac. And so they keep moving around the sun. And so when the years are counted in terms of they have names, and when 60 years are complete, that cycle is complete, then all the planets that were aligned in a certain way at the moment of your birth, they come back to that same position. So it is almost something like it's a metaphor, like a whole cycle, a 1 year. It is like you have spent 1 year of life, not year quite, but one cycle made up of 60 years, and from a zodiac standpoint. Why like that? Because we are connected. We, the individual, we are not just an individual being existing in this infinite cosmos, as a small particle, isolated and separate from it. But we are at once a part of that which is infinite. The individual is very much a part of the infinite, and that connection and the divinity that is behind it is established by that awareness of the individual connected to the total. So here also life is measured in terms of time. And so here, just to remind us that we as individual, even when we look upon time, it's not just 1 year has gone, 1 year has gone by, 1 year has gone by, and my life is becoming shorter. It's not like that. It is I am connected to something which is bigger, something which is infinite, something which is divine. And so when everything comes back to that place where I was born, just like we celebrate every year birthday, here is something very special because it's from a cosmic standpoint. I have I have lived through life for this period of time made up of a 60-year cycle. So that astronomically, just metaphorically, is something very special. So for which we do a couple of things that are that are that are laid down by tradition, by our scriptures. So it is said, so one has to, of course, prayers. We always celebrate a birthday. It's not another party. It is by thanking the infinite, thanking the divine for all that has been given to us, all that has been given to the individual. So we show our gratitude in the form of prayers. So thus there are certain rituals and all that are done. So on this particular day, we do it every year, but there's something special prayers that are done. Janmabde janma mase cha swajanma divase tatha. He says janmarshe chaiva kartavya shanti rudras tatha havya. So on the day of the birthday, the month, the day is the lunar day, tithi called as a tithi, and then the particular year. And he says one should do these kinds of prayers called shanti prayers for the well-being, health, happiness, and general well-being of oneself, one's spouse, and one's family. So these are called as shanti. Ratha shanti. Ratham is a chariot, and this is called Ratham of time, is the chariot of time that we are riding. So there are different type of Ratha Shantis are there based on the year. For the 60th year also, there is a Ratha Shanti. So that is done, made up of many different prayers, etc. Where Devalaye Nadi Tire Swagrahe Va Shubhasthale. This performs prayers are performed either in a temple or on the banks of a river or in one's house or any place that is considered to be a sacred place, a holy place. So thus like that there are for the others are also there after 60 years, then on 70th year, 80th year, like that. Also similar functions are celebrated. All called different types of shantis, Ratha Shantis. So here in this particular on this particular day, he says he does different kinds by invoking the gods. We offer prayers. These are prayers are all laid down in our scriptures. In Markandeya Purana, it is talked about. Then in Agama Shastras, in Smritis are so Dharma Shastra. So where our conduct, samskaras, etc. are taught. So there also these things are described. So we invoke Sri Ganesha, we invoke the Kuladevata family. Every family has certain deities that they are associated with, they are connected to. So just historically, that you grow up with identifying and recognizing when you're young. And then, so Mrutyunjaya Homam is there, prayers are done. So, in the form of pujas and homa. Homas are fire rituals. So, we do homas also. And then, pujas and prayers, other prayers are done. So, invoking for one's own health, ayuhu, long life and a healthy life. What is a long life? What is a long life? What is a short life? A life that leads to fulfillment. That is what it is. It is not just about length in time. It is about a sense of fulfillment. That is the goal. It's not, life is not just for living. It is also meant for growth. That's that is the most important part of living. Otherwise, it is existing. So one lives a life where there is personal growth involved. And we do things, everything from childhood on. So even as a student, as a grahastha, So living a life of responsibilities and family. So what is all this? What is the end point? The end point is one's own, not just experiencing the world, but also in the process of experiencing the world and living in it and interacting with it, one grows, grow as an individual, not physically. Physically, of course, you grow, but then also growing emotionally, growing spiritually. That is really what gives a sense of fulfillment. And so inner fulfillment. So the ultimate in that inner fulfillment is what we call as moksha, what we look upon at as moksha, where one achieves the maximum that a human being is able to achieve in terms of one's fullness and oneness with the divine from which we have come. And that is what is called as moksha. So the goal is always towards that. And so, whatever ashrama we live, whatever lifestyle we live, that is the ultimate prayer. Okay. So we pray for Ayuhu. So enough, please, O Almighty Bhagavan, please give me enough of a life. Please give me enough health, good health, so that it facilitates. Bad health makes it difficult. So to grow. But then please give me the good health. Give me a long life, long enough for me to reach that end point where I feel fulfilled. Okay. So that is the essence of the prayers that we do. And of course, we are grateful for whatever we have been given. And this is what we pray for to continue to have, so that one is able to reach that destination, that final destination. And then besides this shantis that are done, also there is another special, so that addresses the another aspect of this living a life is relationships. We don't just live to eat and then enjoy the world. We also relate to the world. And what does that mean, relating to the world? Even when I look at something, you look at a flower, look at the sunrise, I'm relating to the world. But what do we mean, really speaking, when we talk of relating? We mean that there is a giving and taking. We relate to people, especially when we relate to people, even when we relate to the world. We don't just take, 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 take. We also give. We give as we take. Okay? Not we give and take also. Not all about taking. It's not about giving and taking, like trading. It's not just about that. But I have to take, and in the process of taking, I give. The more I give, the more I get. It's very important to keep that in mind. To get, there are certain things we all want in life. What are those things? Very fundamental. Everybody wants to be recognized. Everybody wants to be acknowledged. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to be respected. Who doesn't? Who doesn't? So, but then these are some things. Everybody wants to be respected. There are certain things in life which we have to give. We have to be willing to give in order to get. That is something we people forget. We forget that. We want, we give. Sometimes we are willing to give in order to get, like trading. We have to give to get. But then there are certain things you have to be first willing to give. Only then you get. You know what they are? One is love. Everybody can relate to that. You know, I have to be willing to give love in order to get love. Another thing is respect. One has to be willing to not just give, one has to be willing to respect others. And then one gets respected in return. So these are things that determine how we live and we learn. As we live, we learn, and in the process of learning all these things, we grow as an individual. One of the things that happens is This is also something special, is we get married along the way. It's always about this marriage. There is another aspect of this Shashtyabdhapoorti function, and there is Kalyanam, In this, there is it's what in the West they call renewal of vows, marriage vows. So here also there is a reaffirmation. Okay. It's not a renewal quite technique. You renew something when it expires, right? You have a contract. And when your contract terminates, so at the end of the year, and now you have to renew it. So to keep it going. It's not like that quite. Here it is just a reaffirmation. Contract never gets over, really speaking. So vivaha is vivaha. And so here you always grow in that relationship. You grow. People think that we stopped growing, or one person stopped growing. I grew up, that person didn't grow up. No, nothing like that. Everybody grows. As long as you grow. If you don't grow, then you didn't do the right thing. You do the right thing, you grow. But anything that happens, there is always a potential for growth, for us to grow. So anyway, that's what it is about. It's about two individuals who are separate. Before that marriage, I'm an individual. And then there is another individual. And this one individual feels alone. He doesn't want to be alone. He wants a companion. And she wants a companion. And so two people come together, you know. The two people come together and they decide to be together. To be together. What for what purpose? For companionship. And in order to be able to feel fulfilled in life, to grow as individuals. So here it's always difficult to grow if you're alone by yourself, because we are never ourselves, when we are with the world. Okay. But one has to be oneself. And so to be with oneself with somebody. So because we interact with each other, and in that process, each one helps the other person grow. So here, two individuals over there, they come together. And then these two become like one. They two become like one, means they have to be in harmony. They have to be in compatibility. And then you don't have to be in the sense you're not born that way. There are no two exact halves that come together. There are always two different shapes that come together, and then those two different shapes, two different people, two different personalities have to now be in synchrony. They have to be in harmony, in relating to each other, and that is what makes one grow. And so these two become as though one, like one. That's why they say better half. Each one is the better half of the other. You have to look upon it that way, because we always want to strive to be better in life. Why not the other? It's not relative. This one is better means I'm worse. Now, then the question is who's better? Am I better or are you better? Everybody wants to be better. Here it is better. It is the better. Both are better. Each one is better than the other in certain areas. Okay. And so each one tries to want to be better in the areas of their personality in which they are not better. And that is how both will grow. If each one looks upon the other as the who's worse, and then you end up being both going downwards. That's not the point. So anyway, so the marriage helps both people grow. That growth is there. So there is a reaffirmation of that connection, of that relationship. And so they repeat this particular, that vivaha ceremony also. And that is another important part of this Shashtyabdhapoorti function. And I mentioned what is this? So these two become like one. And then when we grow again, as you keep growing, then what happens? This one This one is, but again, at some point, in life, then you again become one. You can become life is not infinite. And then, but that is a different one. That is a one that is so in that growth process, then everybody is included. Then the two are again one, but they are not a half. They are a one in which not I'm the one half of the one. But here, both each individual, again remaining an individual, becomes that one, which is an all-inclusive one, that ekam. That is the ultimate. So fulfillment. So all that is indicated. That is the idea of growth is very important. Personal growth, you know, in even in a marriage relationship. And so as one grows older, after 60 years of age, then the way of living also shifts. That is what called ashrama. The ashrama dharma that we talk about. So early on, we are so brahmachari. When I'm very young, I spend my life in learning how to live in life, to learn about the world, how to negotiate with the world, how to develop the skills and negotiate with people, interact with people. Grahastha ashrama is an ashrama where one lives a life of responsibilities that also helps us grow. Otherwise, you become a wandering nobody, wandering with the wind, going where the wind blows. So here, that ashrama also where both people help each other grow, and the family, the children help us grow, just as we help our children grow. So it's all process. Then later on, what do you do? There is another ashrama is there, Vanaprastha ashrama, which implies there is a time when you start backing off from a very active world. It's all part of the growth process. And so there you become more independent. You know, there are two. When there were two, when there was a family, they were all interdependent. So in the growth process, even while we grow, but dependence is not part of growth. You know, growth includes independence too, individuality and independence. So if I grow doesn't mean away from each other. Growth means growing and then including each other, including everybody, in fact. That is the ultimate in growth. So, and at the same time, not being interdependent. It is not codependent. Two people, oh, we are very close together and we are always together. But then we are also codependent. Codependent means one cannot be without the other. It's a disaster. That's not growth. So, growth also involves independence. Being the one has to rediscover themselves. There were two ones were there. Just look at this. And these two ones became one. Each was being half. And that was one kind of one. Now they are grown. And with growth, they are not just a half. I'm not just a half. If I'm a codependent half, without the other, I am a half. It's not like that. I still rediscover that one is a different kind of a one. It's a one, the universal one that includes the other, includes everybody, in fact. So that means that is part of growth, which means that emotional dependence one outgrows. So growth involves outgrowing certain things. So that freedom, that growing out of that emotional dependence, other kinds of dependence, that's also another phase of life of growth. And that is what is called as this vanaprastha, where one learns to separate ourselves out a little bit as individuals, but at the same time include the other person, but not in a way of being dependent, but regaining one's sense of freedom. Independence in the form of inner freedom. Inner freedom I'm talking about. So that is how this Vanaprastha ashram, it leads towards that Vanaprastha. So where there is a life of contemplation and self reflection, and not just dependence on the world. It's not just about the spouse. It's also about the world, not dependence about the world, etc. So this stage of life is a life not of questions and regrets, but a life of fulfillment and joy. You know. So anyway, so this point, this point where there is this bifurcation, Shashtyabdhapoorti. 60 years I have lived in this world. I have gone through this whole cycle of 60 years. The stars are back to where they were on the day I was born. Now it's like I'm beginning a new cycle of my life, of time, in terms of time. And it is a fresh growth. It is a day of prayers. It is a day of so renewing our commitment to each other. A kalyanam is also there, where we will now continue to grow, but in a different way, in a different way where we continue to mature, but become less codependent, become low codependent, remain independent, including with each other, you know. So that is the symbolic significance of that kalyanam, the kalyanam that we do on this Shashtyabdhapoorti. So it's a very special day for both Krishnan and Bindu. I pray to Bhagavan, to Parameshwara, to give them both many, many, many years, many decades of life full of happiness, full of joy, full of good health and success, and also fulfillment, total fulfillment. So, with all these prayers, I conclude and wish you a very happy day. Thank you.